Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IAS Current Affair Analysis for 16th September 2020, and these are the issues we'll be discussing today. The first article for the day is taken from the Hindu and it is titled Parliament and its Panels. So this is regarding the department related standing committees. Before proceeding further into the article, let us have a look at what these standing committees are. If you go back to your basics in polity, standing committee is a committee consisting of members of parliament. It is a permanent and a regular committee which is consulted from time to time. Now this time to time tenure of 1 year is looked at as a problematic issue because it doesn't give the members enough time to deliberate upon the issues, and the increase in tenure has been considered from the past few years. Why do we need these departmental standing committees? We know that the work done by Parliament is not only huge and also complex, it requires a good deal of expertise as well to handle that particular issue. Now, we know that the standing committees are of three kinds: the financial committees, the departmental related standing committees, and other standing committees. We are specifically talking about the DRSCs in this context. So, to know more about this, there are 24 DRSCs. So from this, each of these committees have 31 members, 21 from Lok Sabha and 10 from Rajya Sabha. The 17 department related standing committees were formally started in 1993 April. So after experiencing the DRSC system for over a decade, it was restructured in 2004. In this year, the number of DRSCs were increased from 17 to whatever is there right now, that is 24. These members are to be nominated by the Speaker of Lok Sabha in the case of Lok Sabha members, and the Chairman of Rajya Sabha in the case of Rajya Sabha. So the Chairman of Rajya Sabha has now considered increasing the tenure of this DRSCs. So as far as the tenure is concerned, the Lok Sabha rules and the Rajya Sabha rules together decided that the term of the members in this standing committees shall not be greater than 1 year. So if we take a look at Article 83 of our Constitution, Article 83 says that Rajya Sabha members, 1/3 of them, will retire every 2 years. Whereas we already know that Lok Sabha members are re-elected every 5 years. So the suggestion that the parliamentary committees should be reconstituted every 2 years instead of 1 year is in consonance with the principle laid down in the Article 83, which gives a scope that 1/3 of the members of Rajya Sabha leaving the house will be aligned with that of department related standing committees. This is because even though department related standing committees are only of 1 year, the changes actually happen after the elections that happen once in every 2 years. So it is indeed a very efficient method to align this DRSC constitution with the elections that happen once in 2 years. Given the fact that elections at Lok Sabha happen once in 5 years and in the Rajya Sabha it happens once in 2 years, notionally the changes are very nominal, but in reality it takes almost 1 decade for any changes to be seen in the work of department related standing committees. So this institution, which has a capability and potential to generate enormous amount of knowledge and policy level inputs for legislative processes, are actually underperforming because of the structural issues in the way they are constituted. In this context, the author even suggests that there is no need to decide the term of the members of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha as same. Say for example, if a particular member is supposed to leave because his tenure is going to end, that would render the DRSC ineffective. Similarly, if there is a Lok Sabha election and the members of parliament have to resign, that would again stop the work of DRSCs. So DRSCs are more or less like a continuous bodies which are supposed to generate this wealth of policy making, and therefore they should be acting like this continuous bodies. So the point in tenurial system is to ensure that they get representation from wider segments of population of MPs, but it doesn't mean that their work itself gets impeded by this continuous churn of elections in Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Therefore, the suggestion that we have to give separate tenures for members from Lok Sabha and members from Rajya Sabha is also a welcome idea as suggested in this article. We have already seen that there are 24 DRSCs, and under this we have 21 members from Lok Sabha and 10 members from Rajya Sabha. So in this context, we can say that almost every member of the parliament will get representation in a DRSC at one point of the time or other. So it is also possible that one MP will have expertise over one area. So this tenurial system is actually stopping these ministers from being a part of these committees, and the committees are not in a position to leverage their expertise. Therefore, rather than just being namesake department related standing committees, if we can utilize the expertise of parliamentarians, it will add a lot of value to the policy level knowledge that we have. It will also create a wealth of policy level knowledge and subject of policy making. It will also create professionals in this area through the internships that is given to young professionals generally associated with fellowships like LAMP. So that is the gist of this article. The next article for the day is taken from the Hindu, and this is about the impediments to equal productivity and dignity. We are basically talking about the rights of the disabled, the problems they face, and what else can be done. So this topic can be categorized under the GS paper 2 vulnerable sections part of the syllabus, and also under the social justice part. So before we proceed further, let us try to understand the meaning of the term disability. So it's an umbrella term. It covers impairments, activity limitations, and also participation restrictions. So whenever we are talking about the disabled, it is important to cover each of these dimensions. That is impairment. Whenever we are talking about impairment, it is about the problem in body function or structure. So when we are talking about activity limitation, it is a difficulty encountered by an individual in executing a task or an action. The third one, that is participatory restriction, is a problem experienced by an individual in involvement in life situations. So in this particular case, the author is giving the problem of lack of access to the database in legal provisions, and he quotes the example of a US clerk, citing the example of how visually impaired professionals in legal services can achieve if they have the right kind of tools, and the kind of tools that US professionals have that is lacking in the Indian context. So this can be used as an example for writing your essay or your mains answer. So just take this as an example. So in this example, the author is talking about the online portal SCC Online. So this is a database of all the judgments that Supreme Court has come up with, and the main issue here is it is not disabled friendly. Now since this is a database which has access to all the online judgments, this is very important for people in legal provision, and lack of access to this is a bit unfair for those who are disabled. One important note that we have to keep in mind here is this SCC Online is a private database. So it is like a private property. That person is selling them to professionals in legal services. Now the author requested SCC Online to make it accessible to disabled people like visually impaired persons also, and the reply he got according to him was emblematic of the attitude towards people with disabilities. To put it simply, the owner of this database said that please come out with your suggestions as to how to make it accessible. And secondly, he also said that since this is a private database, nobody can demand it as a matter of right. if he has any suggestions to come up with making it disabled friendly, that they shall incorporate it. So this attitude, according to the author, is emblematic of the kind of treatment and the kind of attitude which prevails when we talk about the disabled people. The first one is there is no dignity. Secondly, there is no principle which is trying to be inclusive of the concerns that are raised by the disabled people. So to mean it, when we are talking about in GS3 inclusive growth, disabled people are also supposed to be considered in their inclusive growth. So this is a matter of right actually, but the fact that private players have so much to say in any profession necessitates the government to intervene and ensure that the rights of disabled are ensured in the spirit that they are laid down in law. In this context, we have to talk about the rights to disabled people. In 2016, there was a law which was amended, and this law has changed the attitude towards disabled people. Till then, disabled people were looked at as objects of charity, and from 2016, it became a matter of right. So, according to the author, the kind of attitude towards disabled people and saying that private property is excluded from this right when it has so much impact on their livelihood and on their efficiency and their ability to carry out certain tasks is not justified. That is the gist of this article. Also, at this point of time, I would like to add the various initiatives for disabled in India by the government. So, what are the government initiatives? The first and most important one that you have to remember here is the Accessible India campaign, which is meant to create accessible environment for the people with disabilities. So this campaign indeed talked about creating infrastructure that is conducive for the development of physically challenged people, but at the same time it did not talk anything about cyber infrastructure. So how do we make this cyberspace, which has become all invasive in this current state of pandemic, to be available for the disabled people? In the absence of any such initiative from the government, cyberspace will become exclusive in nature. So as such, disabled people have various issues, whether it is about access to healthcare, access to education, access to employment. All this will be accentuated in the face of this pandemic if cyberspace is not made accessible. So that is one point that you have to consider. That is my addition for this article. That's it for the day. Thank you.